Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa and welcome very much to this video. I'm excited to share with you five-star memoirs from female authors that I absolutely loved, and I have one honorable mention because I couldn't help myself, and it was 4.5 stars. Worth a mention. We are in November, and if you are needing any more nonfiction books to add to your TBR, to throw a little memoir in there because you have to read a memoir, I would recommend absolutely all of these. I'm gonna warn you, my hair has been driving me kind of crazy, so I might be messing with it a lot. I should probably just go get a clip. Anyway, let's jump right in. The first book, I'm gonna start with the honorable mentions. We'll save the very best for last, but of course, this is still a very excellent book, and this is The Magical Language of Others by E.J. Koh. This is a story of the author's childhood and early, like, her teenage years. I think she's like 25, honestly, in her mid-20s when she wrote this anyway. But this is about her experience when her parents, who are from South Korea, immigrants to California, I believe, move back to South Korea for a business opportunity when she is like in junior high or high school, and leave her and her brother living on their own. And it has a lot to do with sort of her independent experiences as a child, her growing up not fully nurtured by her parents who were absent. I think this book is also really great for examples of like multiculturalism, living in two cultures at once, and sort of that division of dual identity. It's also very beautifully written. It's really lyrical, very beautiful. I really loved it. It's worth your time. I would recommend it. Moving on to the absolute 5 stars that I adored. The next two I'm going to share with you also have to do with the author's adolescent or younger years, and this first one is The Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I hope I said that correctly. And this is a graphic novel, which was really fun, honestly. I've never been super into graphic novels, but I really enjoyed the experience of reading this. And this is about the author's experience living as a child in revolutionary Iran. And her parents are, if I remember correctly, because I read this a while ago, her parents are quite progressive. And so it has a lot to do with sort of reluctantly conforming to a lot of the religious revolution that is happening around them, and this onset of Islam that is now culturally required of them. The author also spends some years going to a boarding school in, I think it was in Switzerland, and it's all just very interesting to see the perspective of this woman who is very progressive herself inside of a very conservative context. And I think it well captures the experience from the childhood perspective, which is obviously subdued but still traumatic to be within this really culturally evolving situation while not fully understanding everything that is happening and just sort of observing the behavior of the adults around you. I thought it was so excellently done. It was also, at the time I read it, a sort of experience I had never really read a memoir of, that sort of historical time period. I would absolutely recommend this. It was really, really fun. Next on this list is Rough Magic by Laura Priorat Palmer, I believe is how you would say her name. This is the memoir of the author's experience. I believe she's like between semesters at Stanford, actually, and she does have some horse riding experience, but she somewhat spontaneously decides to participate in the longest horse race in the world, which is in Mongolia, on the route that was either the Silk Roads, or I think it was perhaps during the Mongol Empire, their mail route. And it's just the longest and loneliest horse race. And it's about her preparation for that, although it was very quick, and then her experience in it. And if you read the blurb, it will actually spoil for you how she did in that horse race. The author is shockingly eloquent and a beautiful writer for her age, and it's just such an interesting experience to read. She is the youngest person to participate in the horse race, if I remember correctly. It's well written. It's a fascinating story. I personally have been thinking about this book a lot because I've been reading a lot about sort of that steppe territory. I recently read Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World, which is a nonfiction book, as well as I'm currently reading The Silk Roads. I've been really into sort of the territory where this takes place, which is just so interesting. Anyway, the next book that I have to recommend for you, which has to be on this list, is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm going to tell you right now, your political affiliations are not relevant to enjoying this book because she is a phenomenal writer. She did such, it's just so compelling. It's so interesting to hear her life and childhood experiences, as well as like what it's like to be a first lady. I don't feel that she's overly political. I mean, I love her as a figure and I'm definitely politically aligned with her, but like I just absolutely loved learning about what it's like to be the first lady and her perspective, sort of like of her husband and of just so many sort of behind the scenes experiences that she had that you wouldn't really know about otherwise, as well as sort of like personally her experience, the way that the media treated her and her family, what it's like, the rigorous experience of being on a campaign. And it's just really beautifully written. I loved their romance. I just was gushing over their romance. It's absolutely gorgeous. 5 stars, absolutely. I also listened to this book and it is narrated by Michelle Obama and she does an incredible job. I would absolutely recommend the audiobook as well. The next book is one of my all-time favorites and I'm not leaving it for the very end because I've done that already in another video. This book is also in my memorable nonfiction books I can't stop thinking about video, and this is West with the Night by Beryl Markham. I know I just talked about this. This will be redundant for a few people, but I love this book. This is about the author's life. She was born and raised in Kenya. Actually, I learned she's not born in Kenya. She was born in England, but she was raised in Kenya. She was a horse race breeder and then became a bush pilot and was the youngest woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean from east to west. The author's voice is just gorgeous. Her writing style is gorgeous. The way she speaks and writes about Africa, about the culture, about the people, her love of the land, her infatuation with flying. It is the most beautiful writing. It's so gorgeous. I mentioned this before, but Ernest Hemingway wrote that Beryl Markham was a better author than her, that she was a better writer than him, and I would agree because it's so gorgeous. I can't wait to read this one again. Actually, it's interesting to also hear about like historically what it was like to be just a very early female pilot. Like this takes place, I think she was born in 1905 or something like that. Above all, what I loved about it was the writing, which was so gorgeous. And speaking of gorgeous writing, I have another very beautifully written memoir to recommend for you, which is H is for Hawk by Helen MacDonald. This is about the author's experience raising a goshawk named Mabel following her father's death, and sort of processing and escaping a lot of her grief through this nurturing of this hawk and bonding with this hawk that is very difficult to raise and to bond with. It also, something I remember very vividly about this book and don't remember the details of, but that I loved, is that she speaks a lot about T.H. White, another author who wrote The Once and Only King, which is where King Arthur, you read about King Arthur, right? Which of course were legends, but like he put them into a book. And his experience raising a goshawk. What I love most about this book is its writing, which is just intoxicatingly beautiful. The premise and like what's happening in the book might not sound that interesting, but I promise that the writing style just carries you through, and it is a gorgeous and wonderful experience to read, and I absolutely recommend it. And that concludes my 5-star memoirs from women authors that I absolutely loved, with of course an honorable mention because I could never contain myself, have to throw another one in there. I would recommend any and all of these books. They're excellent for Nonfiction November. If you have read them and you have thoughts, you love them, or you would recommend any books based on sort of this lineup of other excellent female-led memoirs or female-written memoirs, I would absolutely love for you to share those down in the comments. Please say hi down there, and I will see all of you guys in another video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.